Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, and a quick introduction that will serve for each and every one of these 10 segments that will really make up my top 100 personal top 100 films of all time. It is a huge overhaul. It is a revamp. It is a relook at the entire thing. And eventually at the end of this thing, I am going to do a Letterboxd version of this, which, hopefully will make the first Letterboxd one I did years ago look pale in comparison. So really, this is my top 100 personal 100 films, things that have influenced me from the earliest of my days. I was born in 70. Man, the decade of the 80s was, VHS video stores, the drive-in circuit, all of that stuff. And of recent, becoming a collector, 22 shots of Moodz and horror, podcasts, body bags, just all my influences, right? So this top 100, it is who I am at the moment. Not much of it's going to change, I think. The top 10 will be pretty well locked, I think. But it is who I am. Remember my age, my influences as they are. By decade, 1 or 2 decades, will take up the brunt of this list. You'll see, man. So travel with me as I take this thing on. Take it on. Let's start this thing. Hey guys, man. Here we go. We got 3 to go, right, man? This is beginning with number 30. We'll break into the top 25 today on this segment. And we begin with just an absolutely incredible follow-up to an original. And we'll end this list on what I consider to be one of the greatest sequels ever as we head on into what is the last 20 films, man, of the horror films I consider to be the 100 greatest ever. So follow me, man. I'm going to try my absolute best to keep up the enthusiasm. Just a horrific car accident right before the 4th of July weekend. And it's just a lot of, thankfully not my fault. Thankfully I was fine. My son was fine. It's just, man, when you go through something that horrific, it's just the mental baggage, and today's just one of those days I don't feel like doing freaking crap. But I got this, man, and I so want to finish it. So I'm hoping this will raise up my my overall being right now. So here we go, man. Let's start off with what is considered one of the greatest sequels ever, man. Right up there on the screen. I think you can figure it out. James Cameron's 1986 follow-up to Ridley Scott's one of the greatest science fiction horror films of all time, Alien. Of course, we're talking Aliens, right? We gotta multiply things a little bit. Now, I saw this in the theater as a kid. I was 16, and one of the only times I experienced an instantaneous standing ovation. I mean, just the emotion that poured off the crowd. It was a full theater, man. And it was, as a kid, man, I just stood spellbound as to what did I just watch. It was something special. And I do have the compliments of my daughter, the anthology set, which is one of the best ways to own it. Of course, a few out there have that Japanese release with the alien head. I think James Cox has that. Of course, right here, you'll see the 40th anniversary ticket when I saw Alien on the big screen. And that was awesome. But Aliens, man, what can you say, man? Just an awesome, I don't know if there's a flaw in this movie, man. I mean, it's just the perfect way to capitalize on what is considered already a masterpiece of terror, and just you turn it into one of the greatest action horror pieces ever. I mean, I guess just what you do, right? I mean, James Cameron, man, and just all hands involved on this, the cast. I mean, it is a spellbinding ride, man. It is, and then you just roll on to 3, which, I consider to be, one of the great Alien films as well. And it's just, man, such a fun franchise. I know 4 gets a lot of hate on, but it's just great, man. The supplementals in here are insane. And Aliens, man, I mean, Horner, man, on the composition. It's just the construction of the practicals involved. I wonder if we could just say Aliens is maybe one of the the last of the great sci-fi horror action pieces that at least involved, practical and not leaned on computer CGI or whatever. Anyways, Aliens, man, it had to be in there somewhere, man, because that movie, man, I've seen that movie way too many times. It's just a great movie. Coming in number 29 from Mario Bava the Great. You're gonna see, man, Italy has really left its indelible mark on me. And here in 1971, what we have here is something we call Bay of Blood. Real estate, it's the classic tale, man. People have to come here, deal with a will and what's being left behind, this real estate. And of course, everyone's out for it, stabbing each other in the back. It's just the ending is something definitely to be admired. I absolutely dig the end, man. I know maybe it might rub some the wrong way, but I so dig the end. Some of the kills in here are just out of this world insane. It's just a great movie, man. And Arrow, of course, always does a good job with the reversible cover arts and just all the extras and everything they do, man. Arrow's just fantastic for this. But Mario Bava, man, Bay of Blood. And I had to mention this one first before, because without Bay of Blood, we might have never gotten the next one, which is number 28, Sean S. Cunningham from 1980. The classic Friday the 13th, which and part 2 so much to Mario Bava's Bay of Blood. And really, prior to that, man, Kill Baby Kill, maybe also a strong influence in Friday the 13th. I would love to do a podcast someday, man, that involved Kill Baby Kill, Bay of Blood, and Friday the 13th. I think that would be an awesome podcast. But this is it, man. This is the beginning. And I'm going to just, one of the great moments of this film that rarely ever gets talked about is Kevin Bacon, man. His girl, man, when they're outside just before the thunderstorm starts, and she tells him about a dream that she had as a little girl, and which really foreshadows her death. I think it's one of the most intriguing, sort of creepy but unnerving. It's one of the most interesting scenes in a horror movie, because you sort of really get into the psyche of someone's fear and dread of something that's looming over their life, but there's nothing they can do about it. It's just like that unmovable fate. And this poor girl and that foreshadowment are about to meet. Of course, the final twist in the end is one of the greats of all times. And how quickly we've forgotten, because for the rest of the entire franchise, man, it's all about Jason Voorhees, man. But I do believe Savani's in here with his work, and he won't come back to Friday until I believe it's part 4. There's other things he's doing that are quite great in their own respect. Betsy Palmer, of course, as Mrs. Voorhees. Just the whole setup at the camp, the ingeniousness of the kills. It's just it's a fun movie, man. In fact, I'm just getting in the mood to maybe revisit it or something. I might have to watch it tonight. I keep thinking about it. Just a great movie, man. But a movie that owes so much to this, right? And anyways, man, Friday the 13th, 1980, number 27, another James Whale film. This one I consider maybe one of the great of the Universal, maybe the great Universal monster films of all time. Adapted from H.G. Wells' work, of course. We are talking about The Invisible Man from 1933. Claude Rains, man. I almost forget his name. Claude Rains, man. He just working with his voice alone, the power of that man, just to command the set, man, as he's acting. Claude Rains is unfreaking real in this movie. The practical effects, the old school, the tricks of the trade as they were being mastered by people like James Whale. Just the idea of just taking off the cloth and literally going invisible. I mean, that stuff was state of the art at the time, man. And it's still I mean, to this day, it is, I think, pretty freaking impressive when you watch his invisibility as it is done on film is insane. It is great. Dude, when he starts to descend into madness and just starts to just lose all sense of reality, and this is horrifying, the things that he is quite capable of doing but never really quite does, which the remake actually does an interesting job on capitalizing on some of those things, which is not a bad remake by any stretch, with the girl from the Handmaid's Tale. I can't remember her name, but anyways, this is one of the greats, man. This is my go-to Universal monster, if you want to call him a monster, film. This is my go-to, man. Opens up, got snow, he wanders into the tavern. Of course, I think that pub scene at the very beginning will probably influence John Landis on the opening of his American Werewolf in London. It's great, man. It's just good stuff, man. James Whale, it's freaking... I can never say enough about James Whale, man. He is one of the great of all time. 26 from 1968. Just by saying 68, some of you may know already. George A. Romero's classic Night of the Living Dead. Of course, this is the signature copy. Got this. In fact, I bought this at the George A. Romero Museum while it was still at Evans City back in the day when I visited the cemetery, and picked it up there. But unfortunately, it didn't have the slip that you see here. This is what I got at Evans City at the museum. But I found a copy, the same copy, at a thrift store with a beautiful slip on it. So I gave my son the movie, because I'm going to keep the one I got from the George A. Romero Museum, and just put the slip, since I'm the one that found it, put it on it. So now I got the best of both worlds, a beautiful slip and the movie from a George A. Romero. And what can you say about this, man? I mean, one of the best stories that's told on the commentary track is, of course, the day that Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. They're on George and his buddy are running a copy of the reel of film to a prospective distributor, and they hear the news about Martin Luther King Jr. and they pull off to the side of the road and they realize they're in a quandary. They got this ending. We all know what the ending is. What to do. And George, man, being George, just calls it, man. We don't do anything. We leave it the way it is. And it goes down as one of the all-time classic endings of any horror film of all time. That's a gutsy call, man, by a guy sitting on the side of a highway, hearing the news, realizing this could go either way for him. Chooses the right thing, I think, and it definitely will leave its own indelible mark, man, on society. And what can you say about, as a 70s usher and some of these guys that we have grown to love, and the voices through film, and just being so irritated by all the things that they were seeing around them. That's why some of these films endure, man. All right, number 25. Here we go, man. We are about to break into the top 25. These are the 25 greatest movies, hands down, ever in my entire life. I'm trying so hard right now just to forget everything around me. Here we go, man. Dario Argento produced, Lamberto Bava directed. What could I say right now? Sacchetti writing, Stivoletti on the practicals, on the effects. Right, Stivoletti. Here we go, man. We are from 1985. Demons. Now I had this reversible cover art. I went ahead and pulled it out and put it back just to put the old school. I loved that Arrow this is what I would have rented as a kid on VHS, man. And this is one of those movies that left, not only did it leave its indelible Italian mark on me, but when I rented this as a kid, man, I was exposed to a whole new world. I mean, it's one thing to read about it in Fango as a kid. It's to see some of the pictures from the sets and whatever. It's quite another to finally get your hands on this on a VHS tape, go home, plug it in to your VCR, and just experience things that you had never experienced before in the world of American horror at the time. Italy was doing something special between 79 and 94. Something special. And this is at the midpoint of that run, or, you know, slightly at the midpoint. This is an exceptional gore fest of a film that just lights up the screen, man. I'm telling you, man, the practicals involved in here, this is some of the goriest stuff you ever gonna see, man. And fun too. It's just a romp, man. It's a special effects feast romp. And it's, you know, the greatest crime of Demons 2 is that there's no real true Demons 3. Although it is said that Lamberto Bava put his name to producer for Greta to direct what would be the follow-up, natural follow-up part 3. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just not happening. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that project. But for the moment, all we do have is 2 films with a slew of others that pretend to be part 3, right? We won't get into that right now. But number 25, man, the beginning of my top 25, Lamberto Bava's 1980, just classic 1985 gore goodness here with demons. And some of the imagery in that movie is just absolutely out of the world, out of this world. Here we go, number 24, man. What is a top 25 without Bob Clark? And if I say Bob Clark in a top 25 horror, well, you already know what I'm getting at then, right? Come on, man. Black Christmas. This is some of the creepiest. Dude, it's like if you just took the killer from Angst and gave him a little personality, a little bit more personality, it's him, man. The conversations on the phone, of course. What's her name? Played Lois Lane on the original Superman's. Margot Kidder. He got her in here. It's just John Saxon's in here. Enough said right there. John Saxon. I just said John Saxon's name. That's it, man. It's maybe one of the greatest, most classiest Christmas horror movies ever made. The atmosphere is so heavy. I mean, I'm going to say the atmosphere here for Christmas is as good, if not better, than the atmosphere for Halloween on Halloween. I was going to say something else, actually. I was going to say Trick or Treat, but Halloween, man. Let's just match up classic for classic because, as Bob Clark talks about in his commentary, man, John calls him up and asks him repeatedly, hey, are you going to make a sequel to this Black Christmas? What do you are you not? And he's like, I'm not into sequels. And John's like, well, what if you did? What if you did? What if you did? What would you do? And the story that Bob Clark comes up with really becomes the narrative for our most beloved horror Halloween classic ever, Halloween. And it is interesting listening to Clark talk about that on his commentary. But this is there's that scene, man, when the girl's trying to run around the stairwell and the killer just reaches down and grabs her by the hair and just yanks her, man. I mean, there's just some viciousness in this movie, man. The classic girl cellophaned up in the rocking chair in front of the window. Just the imagery, man, the imagery. It's funny, I think I've read before that Elvis Presley, man, had to watch this movie at Christmas time, man. This was a mandatory watch, and if it's good enough for the king, it ought to be good enough for anyone. All right, 23. This man has not broken into my top 100 yet. Shockingly, surprisingly, but maybe appropriately, because I could have really run amok and just made my top 100 about this director, and that just would not have been good, I don't think. Especially this director, although he intrudes upon my life early on as a teenager, renting VHS tapes, it really isn't until of late that I've discovered my love for this guy as a director outside of what I consider one of the greatest horror trilogies of all time. Now you've got a clue, I think. Lucio Fulci breaks in my top 100 within the 25 from 1981. The most linear expression of his Gates of Hell trilogy, House by the Cemetery. I freaking love this movie, man. I freaking love this movie. I love The Beyond a little bit more. I better just stop right there, man. I'm going to ruin the rest of the movies. I love this trilogy, man. H.P. Lovecraft inspired, man. What can you say about House, man? Tomasi's editing, Cicchetti's writing. You got Giannato De Rossi, man. You got all these powers, man. The cinematographer, they're all coming in, man, and they are starting to work to create some of the greatest expressions of horror, really starting with a movie in 79. And working the way through a small window of opportunity, but man, what a beautiful window it is, man. And the stuff they will create is out of this world. Now, this is the beautiful Blue Underground release. It doesn't get any better than this release, man. The extras and everything in here is just out of this world releases, and out of this world release, man. Lucio Fulci, I consider him one of the masters. He is one of the masters of terror horror, creating atmosphere so heavy you could cut through it, man. The scores, of course, Frizzy. What can you say, man? It's Fulci. But we're getting down to the bottom here. Number 22. Let's bring another one who made left an indelible mark on my life as a kid. Renting VHS tapes. This one comes later in my life, though. And that is, of course, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I consider this one of the greatest giallos ever. I enjoy this one actually a little bit better than Deep Red. I'm not saying it's better than Deep Red. I just enjoy it, man. Musanti, Sam, the American writer there in Italy, gets caught up in witnessing a murder, but he's not sure how it really goes down, and it dogs him. And of course, once the inspector realizes he really doesn't have anything to do with it, he's about to let him go, but Sam can't let it go. He decides to stay on until this killer is revealed, and it is a great reveal at the end. And that is the one thing Dario was known for, man, was his great reveals, and just for dropping the little hints along the way that were just so masterfully done. I'm just trying to think here. 1970, my birth year. This is one of the first. This might be the first Blue Underground movie I ever bought at a Best Buy, I think, so many years ago. And I've never upgraded on this edition. I've always loved this edition. I've never felt a need to, and it's just what it is. Dario Argento, 1970. He would really start to break things wide open, slowly but surely. The crazy painter with the cats, one of the great all-time moment scenes. Reminds you of the crazy dude, the painter dude from Scanners. This dude is nuts, man, with all the cats running around. You got to use a ladder to get up into his window to meet with him. Just the whole setup at the beginning, the reveal at the end, and just the travel course you go. It's just so much fun, man. And Morricone on the score, man. How about that? I'm sure we'll say his name again. All right, let's do it. I'm so apologetic about the time. I see what my time is, and this is what's going to happen, man. We're getting down to the wire, but let's jump on this. Number 21. I consider this one of the greatest sequels, straight up horror film sequels ever. And unfortunately, I think it's been terribly undermined by the new films that are unfolding in front of us. And you probably know what I'm at. Rick Rosenthal's 1981 brilliant follow-up to what is one of the greatest horror films ever in history. And that is, of course, man, Halloween 2. Takes place same night, immediately picks up where the last film almost feels seamless. And even though it's a few years in between the movies, I'm just trying to think. Dick Warlock will replace Nick Castle as the Shape, and I think he does a pretty good job. He may not be Nick Castle, man, at the time, but he does a great job, man. He does a great job. Dean Cundy, cinematographer on this. I don't know if you knew that. And the whole hospital scene, which I thought Rob Zombie did a pretty darn good job as that nightmare sequence in his H2 follow-up to his own remake. But this is classic stuff, man. This is go-to stuff. This is the kind of stuff, man, if you're looking at your collection, you don't know what else to put in, man, you grab Halloween 2 and you run with it, man. The Universal logo at the beginning, Loomis, you don't know what death is. I mean, come on, man, this stuff's great. And then, of course, we had the whole sibling rivalry unleashed in terms of a subplot that will carry through much of the entire franchise. You know, for better or worse, it is what it is, right? I mean, that's just the way they decided to run. But one of the greatest finales ever in cinematic horror film history is, of course, the finale in the hospital between Loomis, him, and Laurie. I mean, it's one of the greats, and unfortunately, that awesome ending, you know, gets undermined by the new films they're doing. And, you know, with all the alternative timelines and everything else, you know, I know you can play devil's advocate and you can say, well, nothing's ever being ruined because it's so many different timelines, and if that's what you prefer, you go to 78 and then you go to this one. And now that's it. But this movie, man, I'm telling you, man, the end finale, I love it when Loomis is just like, Michael, it's finished. Boom! And you know, you watch that end, I don't care how many times you watch that end, in and out, both Michael and Loomis are dead. As Loomis in Zombies movie says, D-E-A-D. Dead, dead, dead. They are dead. But who's not happy with Halloween 4 when we bring them back? And Loomis has got a few scars from a cataclysmic burst of fire and flame that should have just devoured him. And even Michael. But it is what it is. It's a great franchise. We love the franchise. It's beloved. And it's got so many unique approaches to it. You know, be it the four and then the part five story narrative with a little what's her name there? Why can't I think of her name? She'll of course reappear in Zombies remake. I can't think of her name anyways. And this is one of the greats, man. This is one of the greats of all. And the score, man. Again, Carpenter and Alan Howarth on it. It's a little sped up a little bit quicker. It just works, man. Pace. Oh, and the Scream Factory throws in the TV cut, which has some alternative sequences, dream sequences and stuff that's integrated in just for time effect because it's going on TV. And I love this. It was one of those rare instances where the TV cut, man, is so much fun to watch. The suspense factor is ratcheted up, and it's just fun, man. It's just fun. So, Halloween 2, Rick Rosenthal, great follow-up, man. Can't blame Carpenter for not wanting to basically repeat himself. So, but I'm glad he stayed attached in the way he did. All right, so 21, of course, Halloween 2. 22, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, some Argento. 23, House by the Cemetery. Some good stuff right there, man. 24, Black Christmas. 25, Demons. 26, Night of the Living Dead, the classic 68 film. Number 27, The Invisible Man, Claude freaking Rains. Awesome. And he does reign, man. Number 28, Friday the 13th, the classic 80s. But, man, you don't probably have that unless you have Mario Bava's Bay of Blood, right? And then finally, at number 30, you see up there, compliments of the anthology edition, Aliens, James Cameron's follow-up to the classic Alien in 1986. Just an awesome. This is a pretty good 10, man. But that's it. Next up, number 20, down in through the teens, man. It only gets better, and wait to that top 10, man. Wait to that top 10. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream, not